Hello, travelers and monster catchers abound. I'm Stella Ferris, and you've crash landed on the Monster Catchers Journal podcast. The Inado Desert was never silent. Even during the calmest nights, the dunes whispered like something was alive beneath the sand. Winds curled through the wasteland, carrying old voices from buried ruins and shattered caravans. Long forgotten by time, most travelers stayed far from the northern reaches of the desert, where strange storms swallowed entire expeditions whole. But there was one place even more feared than the storms, the Swinging Willows. Nobody truly understood what the place was. Some believed it had once been a thriving forest before the twin suns scorched the planet centuries ago. Others claimed the forest moved through the desert on its own, appearing only to doomed travelers. The elders warned young glyph catchers never to search for it because people who entered the Swinging Willows often vanished without a trace. Naturally, I wanted to find it. I sat in the rover, staring at the holographic map while Beak rested beside me with his feathers puffed up nervously. The map flickered red, anomalous regions detected. The Swinging Willows' unknown glyph signal present. I grinned. There you are. Beak let out an uneasy chirp. I know it's dangerous, I told him while tightening my gloves. But what if this glyph has never been discovered before? The detector on my belt crackled softly as we crossed deeper into the desert. Endless gold dunes rolled beneath the burning twin suns, while black rock spires pierced the horizon like giant fangs. Hours passed, and suddenly trees appeared ahead. Massive willows stood in the middle of the desert, impossibly untouched by the heat. Their long silver-green branches swung slowly back and forth, despite the complete lack of wind. Swing, swing, swing. Even from a distance, the place felt wrong. The moment we crossed into the forest, the temperature dropped instantly. The dry desert heat vanished behind us like a wall had closed. The air smelled sweet, like apples. The ground beneath my boot became damp and dark, while glowing blue seed pods hung from the willow branches overhead, their soft light illuminating strange markings carved into the bark of the trees. Beak pressed close to my shoulder. Yeah, I whispered. I've got a bad feeling too. Then my glyph detector exploded with noise. Beep, beep, beep. Unknown signal approaching. Something moving between the trees. I froze. For just a moment, I saw glowing purple wings drifting through the darkness before the creature vanished again. My heart pounded. That has to be it. We slowly moved deeper into the Swinging Willows, while the branches cracked above us. The further we walked, the stranger this forest became. Tiny glowing spores floated through the air like stars, and shadows twisted unnaturally between the trunks. Then we heard a cry, soft, tiny, scared. Beak immediately spread his wings defensively. A blur shot from the trees and collided directly into my chest. Whoa! I nearly fell backwards as the tiny creature clung to my jacket, trembling violently. Up close it looked even stranger than the rumors. Its head resembled a bright red apple with glowing blue eyes, and a small worm-like horn curled from the top beside a green leaf stem. Its fuzzy black body looked almost mole-like, with a bright orange chest patch. Behind it stretched massive cosmic butterfly wings, glowing with purples, blues, and sparkling starlight patterns. The little glyph looked terrified. Then the ground behind us exploded. Sand erupted into the air as massive creatures clawed upward from beneath the soil. Sandstalkers. Their sandstone bodies cracked as glowing yellow eyes opened across their skull like faces. Long digging claws scraped against the damp earth while they hissed at us from the shadows. 1, 3, 6. We were surrounded. Beak screeched loudly. The apple-headed glyphs buried itself deeper against me shaking uncontrollably. Oh, this is bad, I muttered. One of the sandstalkers lunged. Beak! A blast of radiant energy exploded through the forest, slamming the creature backwards into a willow trunk. The impact shook the entire forest. But more sandstalkers emerged. The Swinging Willows suddenly became alive with noises as branches swung violently overhead. Creak, creak, creak. The glowing seed pods flickered wildly. Run! We sprinted through the forest while sandstalkers crashed behind us. The tiny glyph refused to leave my shoulder. Every time I tried to set it down, it climbed back up onto me. The detector suddenly beeped again. Glyph identified. Pommewraith. Type, cosmic, fey. Status, endangered. My eyes widened. A Pommewraith? I had never seen one recorded in any archive before. No wonder nobody could find him. Maybe there weren't any left. We burst into a hidden clearing deep within the forest. In the center stood a gigantic ancient willow tree covered in glowing blue vines. Unlike the others, this tree barely moved at all. The sandstalkers stopped at the edge of the clearing. They refused to enter. The Pommewraith slowly climbed down from my shoulder and floated towards the ancient willow. The moment it touched the bark, the clearing lit up. Images appeared all around us like living memories. I saw dozens of Pommewraiths flying through the forest long ago. Their wings illuminated the trees like stars. Then the visions changed. Hunters, traps, fire. The desert spreading. The Pommewraiths disappearing one by one until only a single small figure remained beneath the ancient willow tree. The little creature looked back at me sadly. My chest tightened. You're the last one, aren't you? Pommewraith lowered its head. Even Beak went silent. The little glyph slowly approached me again before holding out one tiny paw. Trust. I smiled softly. You don't have to stay here alone anymore. I carefully removed one of my glyphids from its capsule and placed it on the ground, setting it. If you want to come with me. For a moment the Pommewraith simply stared at the capsule. Then it tapped the pyramid gently. The capsule glowed brightly. Capture complete. I blinked in shock. No battle? Beak chirped proudly beside me. Some glyphs didn't need to be forced. Some simply chose their capture. Suddenly the sandstalkers howled from beyond the clearing. The ancient willow branches began swinging violently again. The forest wanted us gone. Fast. I grabbed the capsule and ran. We thought we had escaped in our rover. The heat of the Inado Desert slammed against us. Beak, move! I shouted. The ground behind us erupted. A sandstalker burst from beneath the dunes, its massive claws slicing against the side of our rover. Metal screeched violently as the vehicle tipped sideways, and crashed into the sand. I rolled hard across the ground with the pyramid capsule clutched tightly against my chest. Beak slammed into a nearby dune with a cry. Dust filled the air. My ears rang. Then came the hissing, low, hungry. I looked up slowly. The stalkers had surrounded us. At least 10 of them emerged from beneath the sand in a massive circle. Their glowing yellow eyes pierced through the desert darkness, while their cracked jaws opened with full clicking sounds. Beak staggered beside me, feathers singed and wings trembling from exhaustion. We're trapped, I whispered. The sandstalkers slowly closed in. One lunged forward. Beak fired a radiant blast directly into its face, but another immediately slammed him from the side and sent him tumbling across the dunes. Beak! I scrambled towards him, but one of the creatures blocked my path, towering over me with claws bigger than my torso. The Pommewraith capsule shook violently in my hand. Inside, the tiny glyph was panicking. My breathing quickened. This was it. No rover, no escape route, no way to outrun them. The sandstalker raised its claw. Boom! A massive explosion of purple fire tore across the dunes and vaporized the creature instantly. Every sandstalker froze. I looked towards the ridge from above us. 3 figures stood against the twin suns and 3 moons. Luna, Zena, and Astra. Relief hit me so hard I nearly collapsed. You seriously thought we were going to let you die out here? Luna yelled while jumping down from the ridge, with Ignazura beside her. Zena smirked while spinning one of her energy blades. You disappeared into the most cursed place in the Inado Desert, she said. Of course we follow you. Astra adjusted her gloves calmly, while Myrno pawed at the sand beside her. You really need to stop wandering into death traps, alone. Another sandstalker screeched. Then chaos exploded across the Inado Desert. Beak launched skyward and blasted radiant energy into the swarm, while Ignazura pounced into the 2 sandstalkers at once. sapphire claws tearing through their stone armor like paper. Myrno charged headfirst into another creature, sending it flying down a dune. Luna raised her hand. Dark cosmic chains erupted from the sand and wrapped around multiple sandstalkers at once before crushing them beneath the desert floor. Xena sprinted directly into the center of the swarm with terrifying speed, her blades glowing bright green as she sliced through the sandstone limbs. Meanwhile, Astra calmly launched explosive capsules into the battlefield with frightening precision. Boom! 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 The desert lit up with fire and glowing energy. I grabbed Aura Beak and backed away while the battle raged around us. One sandstalker tried sneaking behind Astra, but suddenly the pyramid capsule on my belt burst open. Pommewraith shot into the air, its cosmic wings flaring brilliantly. The entire battlefield froze. Tiny glowing spores exploded outward from the Pommewraith's wings like stars scattering across the desert. The sandstalker began shrieking. One by one, they backed away, then disappeared beneath the dunes, gone. Silence fell over the desert except for everyone breathing heavily. Luna stared at the floating Pommewraith in shock. That's what you found there? I nodded slowly. The last Pommewraith. Pommewraith floated nervously beside me before landing on my shoulder. Xena crouched slightly. It's adorable. It's almost got us killed, Astra muttered while brushing sand off her coat. Aura Beak chirped proudly beside Pommewraith, like he'd personally discovered it himself. The twin suns and the three moons illuminated the dunes around us, while the distant outline of the Swinging Willows shimmered faintly on the horizon. Then we heard it, a sound, soft, weak, almost like crying. Everyone froze. Did you hear that? Luna whispered. The sound came again. A tiny squeaking chirp carried across the dunes. Pommewraith suddenly perked up. Its glowing wings fluttered wildly. Without warning, it flew towards a cluster of broken rocks near the edge of the desert. Wait, I shouted. We followed quickly. The sound grew louder. Tiny, scratching noises echoed beneath the stones. Astra carefully moved one of the rocks aside. Underneath was a tiny hidden burrow lined with willow leaves, and inside, another Pommewraith. But this one was much smaller, a baby. Its wings were dimmer and partially curled around its tiny fuzzy body. The little creature looked weak and frightened, pressing itself against the back of the burrow. My Pommewraith made a soft chirping sound. The baby immediately responded. Luna's eyes widened. There were two. The baby slowly crawled forward before collapsing weakly into Pommewraith's arms. The older Pommewraith wrapped its glowing wings protectively around the smaller one. My chest tightened. They weren't extinct. Astra knelt beside the burrow, carefully examining the baby. This one wouldn't have survived much longer alone. Xena smiled softly. Well, she said while standing up, guess we're bringing home 2 cosmic apple moths now. Aura Beak chirped dramatically in protest. Pommewraith glared at him immediately. Luna laughed. Oh, great, she said. They're already fighting. The ride back to the sanctuary was strangely quiet, not because we had nothing to say, but because every few minutes someone would glance towards the containment carrier in the back of the rover and completely lose their train of thought. Inside, the 2 Pommewraiths huddled together beneath a pile of soft blankets Astra had thrown in at the last second before we left the desert. The larger one kept its glowing wings wrapped protectively around the baby, while the smaller Pommewraith peeked nervously over its shoulders. Aura Beak sat on the opposite side of the carrier with his feathers puffed up dramatically, still offended. They're babies, I told him while steering the rover through the canyon roads. You don't need to compete with them. Aura Beak chirped loudly. Luna snorted from the passenger seat. He absolutely does. The sanctuary doors finally opened beneath the cliffs outside the desert. Massive stone slabs slid apart, revealing the underground base hidden far below the sands. Warm, golden lights illuminated the docking chamber as we drove inside. The moment the rover stopped, the baby Pommewraith made a tiny squeaking noise and buried itself deeper beneath the older one's wings. Astra immediately softened. Oh no, she whispered, it's scared. Xena leaned against the rover door. To be fair, she said, today has probably been horrifying for them. I carefully opened the carrier. The older Pommewraith floated out first, hovering cautiously above the metal floor, while staring at the enormous sanctuary around it. Its cosmic wings shimmered softly beneath the overhead lights. Then the baby peeked out. Tiny blue eyes, blinking nervously, it let out a weak chirp, and immediately launched onto my sleeve. Luna burst out laughing. Well, congratulations, she said. You're its parents now. I am not qualified for that. The baby Pommeraith climbed all the way onto my shoulder and wrapped its tiny tail around the collar of my jacket. Beak looked personally betrayed. Oh, don't start, I muttered. He absolutely started. Beak launched onto my other shoulder and spread his wings possessively at the baby Pommeraith. The baby stared at him, then made the tiniest angry squeak imaginable. A small burst of glowing spores exploded directly onto Beak's face. Luna nearly fell over laughing. Oh, my stars, it defended itself. Beak coughed dramatically while shaking glowing dust from his feathers. The older Pommeraith immediately floated between them, making soft chirping noises like a tired parent stopping siblings from fighting. Sent across her arms, they already feel like part of the sanctuary. Astra smiled softly while kneeling beside them. We should probably figure out what they eat before they start chewing on machinery. Almost immediately, the baby Pommeraith attempted to bite on Astra's glove straps. Good point, Astra sighed. A loud mechanical clang suddenly echoed through the sanctuary. Everyone froze. Another clang followed. Then came a scraping noise from one of the lower maintenance tunnels. Beak immediately spread its wings. The older Pommeraith stiffened. Even the baby hid behind my neck. Luna's smile vanished. Tell me, that's one of ours? Zena slowly drew one of her energy blades. That didn't sound like one of ours. The light above us flickered, then again. Scrape! The sound echoed through the tunnel louder this time. Something was moving down there. Something big. I exchanged nervous looks with Luna and Astra, because deep down we all knew one horrible possibility. What if the sand stalkers followed us home? The scraping sound echoed through the sanctuary again. Scrape! Beak immediately launched into the air while Luna summoned glowing chains around her hands. Zena narrowed her eyes towards the dark maintenance tunnel. Something's down there. The baby Pommeraith buried itself in my hood with a frightened squeak, while the older one hovered protectively in front of it. Another loud clang rang out, then suddenly, crash! A figure burst from the tunnel at full speed. What is that? Before I could finish shouting, a tiny glyph wearing a cooking pot on its head tripped over its own feet and rolled across the floor, laughing hysterically. Silence, then Astra groaned. Patches! The little troublemaker popped out from beneath the pot helmet, holding two metal pipes in it. It had clearly been smashing together. Luna stared for a second before bursting into laughter. You absolute gremlin! Patches pointed proudly at all of us before falling over laughing again. Beak looked deeply offended. The baby Pommeraith peeked out from my hood cautiously while Patches waddled over and offered it a shiny screw like a friendship gift. The baby immediately accepted it. Oh no, I muttered. Now there's two tiny chaos creatures in this sanctuary. Later that night, the sanctuary had finally calmed down. Most of the lights had dimmed into the nighttime setting while the distant hum of machinery echoed softly through the underground halls. Luna had gone downstairs to her room. Zena was helping Astra repair the damaged rover, and Beak had claimed the top of the couch like a king guarding his throne. The older Pommeraith rested quietly inside a nest Astra had made from blankets and glowing moss. But the baby had vanished. I blinked. Please tell me someone has eyes on the tiny cosmic moth. Beak immediately sat upright. A loud metallic crash echoed somewhere down the hall. Clang. Then came Patches' unmistakable laughter. Oh no. I sprinted down the corridor with Beak flying beside me. The deeper we went, the more chaos we found. Tools scattered everywhere, paint smeared across the walls, a broken bucket rolling slowly across the floor. Then we reached the storage room and froze. Patches stood proudly atop a pile of crates, wearing an oversized welding mask. Beside him, the baby Pommewraith floated excitedly in the air, covered head to toe in glowing blue paint. My jaw dropped. The two of them had somehow painted tiny, glowing stars across the entire storage room, even the ceiling. The baby Pommeraith chirped happily before sneezing glowing spores directly onto Orabeak. Patches immediately fell over laughing. Orabeak looked seconds away from committing a crime. "What happened in here?" I asked slowly. Patches proudly held up a dripping paintbrush. The baby Pommeraith copied him by holding up a screwdriver. "That answers absolutely nothing." Then the older Pommeraith floated nervously into the doorway. The moment it saw the glowing mess covering the room, it let out the tiniest exhausted chirp imaginable, like a tired parent questioning every life decision it had ever made. Even I felt bad for it. The baby Pommeraith floated over innocently and placed a glowing paint paw on the older one's head. The older Pommeraith sighed and gently wrapped one wing around the baby anyway. Patches pointed proudly at the painted ceiling. In crooked, glowing letters, the two tiny troublemakers had written, "Patches plus Pomma best friends." Luna walked into the hallway behind us, stared at the room for 3 whole seconds, then immediately turned around. "Nope," she said while walking away. "That's your problem, not mine."